They built 96 houses on my land on purpose, not by accident. I inherited 47 acres in Colorado from my grandfather. The property was paid off and pristine. When I visited for the first time in 3 years, I found an entire subdivision where my forest used to be. Paved roads, streetlights, families hauling furniture into homes they had each paid. $485,000 for the HOA president, a woman who'd never worked an honest day in her life but wore a Rolex like a badge, looked me in the eye and called me a deadbeat squatter trying to scam hardworking families. She claimed her lawyer had confirmed the land was abandoned, so under adverse possession laws it now legally belonged to them. She'd already pocketed $16 million from pre-sales. Here's what I did. Absolutely nothing. I let them finish construction. I watched them landscape, paint, install pools. Then I walked into federal court with my grandfather's original 1971 deed. What would you do if someone built a neighborhood on your property? Drop your state below. Let's see where my land rights family is watching from. My name's Dakota Flint. Yeah, like the stone. I'm 47, a structural engineer, divorced. I drive a 2008 Silverado that burns a quart of oil every month. Nothing special about me except one thing. My grandfather left me 47 acres of Colorado forest worth roughly $4.2 million. William Flint bought that land in 1971 for $8,200 cash. A Depression-era man, he kept every receipt in leather ledgers that smelled like pipe tobacco and WD-40. When he died in 2019, he left me the property with a single note tucked inside the deed. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. Life got busy. Divorce, 2 kids in college, 70-hour work weeks. But I never missed a property tax payment. Every April, like clockwork, I paid the $6,400 online. I still have every email receipt. In August 2022, I finally drove up to scatter my grandfather's ashes. I turned off Highway 36 onto the old fire road and my stomach dropped. The pine forest was gone. In its place stood 96 Mediterranean-style stucco houses with fake balconies and HOA-mandated beige paint. A carved stone sign at the entrance read, Ridgeline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. I double-checked my GPS. Same coordinates. This was my land. At the gatehouse's security guard stopped me. Residents only. I own this property, I said, showing him a photo of the deed on my phone. He smirked. Sure, buddy. And I'm Elon Musk. Turn around. Before I could argue, a white Range Rover pulled up. Out stepped Cassandra Whitmore, mid-50s, Botoxed into a permanent look of mild surprise, dressed in white linen that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She had that unmistakable aura of someone who'd never been told no by anyone who mattered. Problem, Ray? She asked the guard, not even glancing at me. This gentleman claims he owns the development. She finally turned. Her eyes swept over my work boots, Carhartt jacket, and calloused hands. I watched her mentally file me under poor. How charming, she said. Sweetie, if you're looking for construction work, most crews are already full, but I can take your number. I'm not looking for work. I'm the legal owner. My grandfather was William Flint. Ah. She pulled out her phone and scrolled with manicured nails. Our title company ran a forensic search. This land was abandoned for over 3 years. Under Colorado's adverse possession statute, means nothing if property taxes were paid, I interrupted. Her smile turned sharp. That's adorable. You know just enough to be dangerous. She handed me a business card between 2 fingers like it was contaminated. Brian Keir, our attorney. He'll explain why your claim is, what's the legal term? Frivolous. I took the card. How many houses are sold? All 96. Pre-construction sales totaled $16 million. Families are moving in by Thanksgiving. She said it like a threat. This is a legitimate development, properly permitted through Boulder County. If you keep trespassing, I'll call Sheriff Mitchell personally. We're major contributors to his department's equipment fund. Then she did something that made my blood run cold. She snapped a photo of my license plate. Just in case you decide to come back and vandalize anything, we have excellent security footage. She leaned closer. And trust me, honey, people like you don't win against people like us. The diesel stench of a nearby excavator mixed with fresh concrete. A nail gun popped like a countdown. I drove home, hands shaking. That night, I spread Grandpa's documents across my kitchen table. The 1971 deed, 47 years of tax receipts, survey maps. Cassandra had threatened me, photographed my truck, and implied I was a criminal. In doing so, she'd handed me everything I needed to bury her. Monday morning, I called Brian Keir, her attorney. His receptionist had that professionally pleasant voice, the kind dentists use before telling you need a root canal. Mr. Keir is in depositions all week. Can I take a message? Dakota Flint regarding the Ridgeline Heights property. Pause. Oh yes, Mr. Keir anticipated your call. He's authorized me to offer a nuisance settlement of $15,000 if you'll sign a quitclaim deed by Friday. $15,000 for $4 million in land. I knew quitclaim deeds from my divorce, the legal equivalent of saying, I give up. I don't even care if I'm right. Tell Mr. Keir I'll see him in court, I said, and hung up. I needed a real lawyer, not the guy who handled my divorce for $2,200. I needed someone who made other lawyers check their malpractice insurance. A friend in Cheyenne gave me one name, Lydia Chen. She once crushed a railroad company in a Wyoming adverse possession case so badly they offered her a job just to make her stop. Her consultation fee was $500. I paid it with a credit card and prayed. Lydia's office smelled like old leather and lemon polish, the kind of scent that costs money to maintain. She was about 60, gray hair in a tight bun, reading glasses on a beaded chain. She listened to my entire story without interrupting, her handwriting so perfect it looked like a font. When I finished, she set down her pen. Show me your tax receipts. I handed her a folder thick enough to hurt someone. Email confirmations, bank statements, county records, every April payment since 2019, plus copies going back to 1971. She flipped through them. I watched her mouth twitch into something that might have been a smile on a less controlled face. Colorado adverse possession requires 18 years of open, continuous hostile possession, and the squatter must pay property taxes the entire time. Since you've been paying, their claim is stillborn. You could get an injunction to stop construction. You could, she said, closing the folder. But here's what I'd do instead, and you're going to think I've lost my mind. Let them finish building. I stared at her. What if I stop construction now? Cassandra's company declares bankruptcy. Your land gets tied up in a 3-year litigation circus. 96 families who bought homes in good faith will sue everyone, including you. Banks, title companies, insurers. It becomes legal whack-a-mole. She leaned forward. But if you let them finish, then file for declaratory judgment, you'll own 96 completed houses. Cassandra's company has committed textbook fraud, selling property they don't own. They'll be desperate to settle because the alternative is prison. My hands shook. What if they somehow win? They won't. But even in some parallel universe where they did, you've lost nothing. Your land's already occupied. The difference is whether you fight one corrupt developer or 96 traumatized families. It was cold, strategic, brutal, and it made perfect sense. How much? I asked. 40 to 50,000 in legal fees. But when we win, and we will, the court awards damages for trespass, unjust enrichment, fraud, and attorney's fees. You'll own the houses outright, sell them, rent them, or negotiate a settlement worth millions. I had $12,000 in savings. My truck needed a transmission. My daughter's tuition was due in January. I'll figure it out, I heard myself say. One last thing, Lydia added, voice low. Don't contact Cassandra. Don't post on Facebook. Don't tell anyone except your kids and maybe one trusted friend. In property litigation, surprise is worth more than gold. I hired her that day. Over the next months, I drove past Ridgeline Heights twice a week, parked on the public road, and took time-stamped photos, framers swarming like ants, plumbers hauling PEX tubing, electricians snaking wire through walls. The air smelled of sawdust and diesel. Cassandra spotted me once. She made a call, gesturing at my truck like I was a bomb. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's deputy pulled up. Uncomfortable, caught between duty and donors. Mrs. Whitmore says you've been harassing her. I'm documenting construction on property I own. Check the county records, he sighed. If she calls again saying you're threatening her, I'll have to take action. Translation: she funds his boss's campaign. You don't. By November, families moved in. U-Hauls in cul-de-sacs, kids on scooters, the smell of pizza mixing with fresh paint. I watched a couple carry a crib into House 43. Another family planted a maple tree. These weren't villains, they were people who'd saved for down payments chasing the American dream. But Cassandra, she was about to learn that stealing costs more than money. Thanksgiving week, I got a certified letter from Whitmore Development. The post office clerk, someone who'd known my grandfather, wrinkled her nose at the return address. My sister tried to buy one. They wanted $485,000 for 1,800 square feet. Highway robbery. The letter was from Brian Keir. 3 pages of legalese boiling down to, "Stop trespassing or we'll sue you for harassment." Attached was a photo of my truck on the public road, my license plate circled in red Sharpie. In the margin, someone had scrawled, "Document everything." I drove straight to Lydia's office. She read it and laughed. A real belly laugh. They're documenting their own fraud. Every letter, every photo, every interaction, it's proof they knew there was a dispute and kept building anyway. "It doesn't feel like a gift," I said. "It feels like I'm being stalked." "You are. But here's what you're going to do. Nothing. Let them waste money on threats. Let them generate evidence. We file in January, right after the holidays when everyone's distracted." She handed me a legal pad. "Meanwhile, I need everything on Cassandra Whitmore. Property records, business filings, tax liens, anything public. I want to know who's financing this." I became an amateur detective. As an engineer, I knew how to read plats and permits. Boulder County records showed Whitmore Development LLC was registered in Delaware. A red flag. Cassandra was the sole managing member, but financing came from Ridgeline Capital Group, a Denver firm. One of its partners? Preston Whitmore, Cassandra's husband. He'd been sued twice for construction defects and once for defrauding investors. Cases settled quietly, records sealed. This wasn't just Cassandra's scam. It was a family business. Even better, the county permits listed the land as formerly tax delinquent, acquired via adverse possession claim filed March 2022. But you can't just claim adverse possession. You must prove it in court, get a judgment, and record it before selling. They'd skipped that step entirely. That's not a mistake, it's premeditated, documented fraud. I sent everything to Lydia. She called an hour later. "Dakota, this is better than I thought. If we prove Preston knew about your ownership and proceeded anyway, this becomes criminal fraud, not just civil trespass. How do we prove that?" "Let me worry about that. You just keep your head down." But keeping my head down got harder when Cassandra escalated. In early December, Boulder County Code Enforcement called. "We've received a report you're operating an illegal dumping site on your parcel." "What? I don't even live there." "Complaint says there's debris, old vehicles, hazardous waste." I drove up with my phone recording. The property was pristine except for the 96 illegal houses. The inspector, Rick Polson, walked the perimeter, shook his head. "Nothing here. Someone filed a false report." "Who?" "Anonymous tip. But it came through Mrs. Whitmore's office." He handed me his card. "Off the record, I've inspected 6 Whitmore projects. Everyone had complaints filed against neighboring landowners right before permits were approved. It's a pattern. Call me if you need a witness." Cassandra wasn't just stealing my land. She was trying to drown me in bureaucracy while she finished construction. But every move she made was digging her own grave deeper. By Christmas, 84 houses were occupied. Families hung lights, kids built snowmen, and I had a court date set for January 12th. Then 8 days before trial, my daughter texted, "Dad, did you get arrested? Someone posted on Facebook you're harassing families in a neighborhood." I opened Facebook and found Cassandra's post pinned to the top of a local community group. Alert. Local man Dakota Flint has been stalking our family-friendly Ridgeline Heights, taking photos of children, making residents feel unsafe. He claims to own our neighborhood despite clear legal title. Comments called me a predator. Someone posted a photo of my truck with the plate visible. "This is his truck. Stay safe." My hands shook. My kids were terrified. I called Lydia. "I saw it," she said. "Don't respond. Don't comment. Don't defend yourself." "She's calling me a pedophile, Lydia." My daughter's crying. "I know. And it's defamation. We're adding it to the lawsuit. But if you engage, you look guilty. This is a Hail Mary she knows we filed. She's trying to discredit you before trial." I spent hours screenshotting every share, every comment. By midnight, it had 847 shares. Someone even created a hashtag, "Stop Dakota Flint." The next day, my boss called me in. "A school district client Googled our firm and saw your name attached to a situation. They asked if you'd be on the project." I told them you're on personal leave, effective immediately. I walked out to my truck and saw Jenny from accounting cross the parking lot to avoid me. That's when it hit me. Cassandra wasn't just attacking my property claim. She was erasing me from my own life, my job, my reputation, my community. I sat in my truck and called Lydia again. "They're destroying me," I said. I just got put on leave. People won't even look at me. And then I added, "I'm filing an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order." They built 96 houses on my land, deliberately, not by accident. I inherited 47 acres of pristine paid-off forest in Colorado from my grandfather. When I finally visited after 3 years, divorce, kids in college, relentless work weeks catching up with me, I found my trees gone. In their place, a fully built subdivision called Ridgeline Heights, complete with paved roads, streetlights, and families moving into homes they'd each paid $485,000 for. The HOA president, Cassandra Whitmore, a woman who wore wealth like armor and a Rolex like a trophy, told me to my face that I was a deadbeat squatter trying to scam hardworking people. She claimed her lawyer confirmed the land was abandoned, so under adverse possession it now belonged to them. She'd already banked $16 million in pre-sales, so I did nothing. Let them finish. Watched them landscape, paint, install pools. Then I walked into federal court with my grandfather's original 1971 deed. My name is Dakota Flint, yes, like the stone. I'm 47, a structural engineer, divorced, driving a worn 2008 Silverado that burns oil faster than I can check the dipstick. Nothing remarkable about me, except that my grandfather left me 47 acres worth over $4 million. William Flint bought it in 1971 for $8,200 cash. He kept every receipt in leather-bound ledgers that smelled of pipe tobacco and WD-40. When he died in 2019, he left the land to me with a note. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." I never missed a property tax payment, $6,400 every April, online with receipts to prove it. But when I returned in 2022 to scatter his ashes, the forest was gone. Replaced by 96 identical stucco homes with fake balconies and beige paint dictated by the HOA. The carved stone sign at the entrance read, Ridgeline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. At the gate, a guard mocked me. Then Cassandra appeared, linen-clad, Botoxed, radiating entitlement. She assumed I was labor, offered me a job application, then scoffed when I said I owned the land. Her attorney had supposedly confirmed the property was abandoned. I corrected her. Adverse possession fails in Colorado if the true owner pays taxes. She handed me her lawyer's card like it was trash and warned me not to return, hinting she had Sheriff Mitchell in her pocket. That night, I laid out every document, the deed, tax records, surveys. She hadn't just trespassed, she'd given me the blueprint to destroy her. I called her lawyer. He offered $15,000 to sign a quitclaim deed. I hung up and hired Lydia Chen, a litigator feared for dismantling corporate frauds. She didn't flinch when I showed her the receipts. "Let them finish building," she said. "If you stop them now, 96 innocent families get dragged into a mess. But if you wait, you'll own 96 houses and they'll be facing criminal fraud," I agreed. I had $12,000 in savings, a dying truck and tuition due, but I wasn't walking away. Grandpa's note echoed in my head. Over the months, I documented everything. Photos from public roads, construction progress, every interaction. Cassandra escalated, filing false code violations, having deputies harass me, spreading rumors. Then came the Facebook post. "Dakota Flint is stalking our neighborhood, photographing children." It went viral. My kids were terrified. My boss put me on leave. Neighbors crossed the street. Lydia told me not to respond. Every post, every lie, it's evidence of malice. She's desperate because she knows we filed. I filed an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against Cassandra, alleging defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and tortious interference with business relations. Lydia warned me, "It gets worse before it gets better. We can settle now, maybe $500,000. You could walk away." I thought of Grandpa's note. "No," I said. "We finished this." She was right, it got worse. My garage was spray-painted pervert. My daughter received cruel messages. Someone sent a PI to my son's workplace asking if I was violent. The IRS suddenly audited me, based on an anonymous tip. But Lydia was ready. She'd uncovered a whistleblower, a former Whitmore partner who handed over a damning internal email from Preston Whitmore, Cassandra's husband, and the real power behind the operation. Dated February 2022, it read, The Flint parcel isn't abandoned. The grandson's been paying taxes since 2019. Adverse possession won't hold. But if we move fast, file the claim, get permits, start selling before anyone notices, we can create enough chaos that Flint either settles cheap or gets crushed by legal costs. Worst case, build everything, file bankruptcy, let title insurers sort it out. We've done this before. Risk medium. Reward $6 they knew. From the start, they knew they were stealing. At the courthouse hearing, Lydia dropped the email like a bomb. Judge Ramirez's eyes narrowed. "Is this authentic?" Preston's lawyer stammered. The motion to dismiss was denied. The judge issued a restraining order. No more sales, no more social media attacks, no more harassment, or Cassandra would face contempt. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Lydia's plan unfolded: depose the Whitmores, subpoena every contractor and title agent, trace their pattern of fraud across 7 Colorado developments. "They're not developers," she said. "They're land pirates with LLCs. We'd add RICO charges, turning civil fraud into a federal racketeering case. Treble damages, personal liability, their houses, cars, bank accounts, all on the line. And then we'd go public, not on Facebook, but with Channel 9 Denver." Investigative reporter Patricia Hughes wanted the story. She'd already contacted Cassandra, who threatened to sue. Patricia didn't flinch. When the camera rolled in my living room, I told the truth about Grandpa's ledgers, the tax payments, the families who bought homes in good faith, and the ruthless scheme to steal land from someone they assumed wouldn't fight back, because that's what they missed. I wasn't rich. I wasn't connected, but I had receipts and I remembered Grandpa's words. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." They built 96 houses on my land on purpose, not by accident. I inherited 47 acres of untouched Colorado forest from my grandfather, William Flint, who bought it in 1971 for $8,200 in cash. He kept every receipt and leather-bound ledgers that smelled of pipe tobacco and WD-40. When he passed in 2019, he left me the land with one instruction tucked inside the deed: "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." Life got in the way. Divorce, 2 kids in college, 70-hour work weeks, but I never missed a property tax payment. Every April, like clockwork, I paid the $6,400 online and saved every confirmation. 3 years later, I finally returned to scatter his ashes and found my pine forest replaced by a luxury subdivision called Ridgeline Heights. Paved roads, street lights, families unloading U-Hauls into homes they'd each paid nearly $500,000 for. At the gate, the HOA president, Cassandra Whitmore, dismissed me as a deadbeat squatter. She claimed her lawyer confirmed the land was abandoned, so, under adverse possession, it now belonged to her development company. She'd already collected $16 million in pre-sales, so I did nothing. Let them finish. Watched them pour driveways, install pools, hang holiday lights. Then I walked into federal court with Grandpa's original deed and every tax receipt since 1971. I'm Dakota Flint, 47, a structural engineer, divorced, driving a 2008 Silverado that burns oil faster than I can check it. I don't look like someone who'd take on a wealthy developer, but I had something they didn't: proof. I hired Lydia Chen, a lawyer known for dismantling corporate fraud. "Let them build," she said. "If you stop them now, 96 innocent families get dragged into chaos. But if you wait, you'll own 96 houses, and they'll be facing criminal fraud." So I documented everything. Time-stamped photos from public roads, every interaction with deputies, every false code violation Cassandra filed to harass me. Then came the smear campaign. A Facebook post branded me a predator, claiming I stalked children in Ridgeline Heights. It went viral. My kids were terrified. My job put me on leave. Neighbors avoided me. But Lydia saw it for what it was: desperation. Every threat, every lie, evidence of malice. We filed for a restraining order and pressed forward. The breakthrough came from a whistleblower, an internal email from Preston Whitmore, Cassandra's husband and the real force behind the scheme. Dated early 2022, it read, "The Flint parcel isn't abandoned. The grandson's been paying taxes since 2019. Adverse possession won't hold. But if we move fast, file the claim, get permits, start selling before anyone notices, we can create enough chaos that Flint either settles cheap or gets crushed by legal costs. Worst case, Build everything, file bankruptcy, let title insurers sort it out. We've done this before. They knew. From day one, they knew they were stealing. At the court hearing, Lydia presented the email. Judge Ramirez's expression hardened. She denied their motion to dismiss and issued a restraining order. No more sales, no more social media attacks, no more harassment. We dug deeper. The title company admitted they'd accepted a $45,000 under-the-table payment to approve the fraudulent claim. County records showed the Whitmores had donated $50,000 to a commissioner's campaign to fast-track permits. Then Channel 9 Denver ran a feature on the case. Investigative reporter Patricia Hughes didn't flinch when Cassandra threatened to sue. "Threats mean I'm onto something," she said. The broadcast aired and everything changed. My phone blew up with messages of support. My boss invited me back to work. But that night my front door was ajar. Nothing stolen, just a note on the kitchen table. Drop it or lose everything. A neighbor had seen a black Audi, registered to the same private investigator who'd harassed my son, lurking outside. It was intimidation, and it meant they were cornered. By trial day, the courtroom was packed with Ridgeline families, people who'd risked their life savings on homes built on stolen land. Sarah Chen, who'd called me in tears fearing she'd lose everything, sat in the front rows. Lydia's opening was quiet thunder. "This isn't theft with masks and guns. It's theft with LLCs and lies." She walked the judge through Grandpa's ledgers. Tax records, the smoking gun email, the break-in, the IRS audit, the PI harassment. Preston took the stand and unraveled. Contradicted his own deposition. Sweated through his suit. Cassandra invoked the fifth and never testified. At the end, Judge Ramirez promised a ruling within 24 hours. As we left the courtroom, Sarah asked the question I'd been dreading. "If you win, do we lose our homes?" Lydia nodded. I turned to the crowd. "You keep your homes," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Every single one of you. The Whitmores committed the fraud, not you. You'll own your houses free and clear." The room erupted in applause. The next day, the judge ruled in our favor. Completely. Full title to all 47 acres, including the 96 homes. $2.4 million in damages. Attorney's fees covered, and a criminal referral to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Preston was later indicted on federal fraud charges. Cassandra took a plea deal. 3 years probation, $500,000 in restitution, and a lifetime ban from Colorado real estate. Their assets, cars, vacation homes, jewelry, were seized and auctioned. Their company dissolved. Their lawyer resigned. But the real victory wasn't the money or the punishment, it was what came next. Instead of evicting the families or selling the homes for profit, I created the Ridgeline Heights Community Trust. Each homeowner would keep their house at the price they'd already paid. No interest, no penalties. Any remaining payments would go to the trust to maintain roads, cover taxes, and fund a scholarship in my grandfather's name, the William Flint Memorial Scholarship, for Colorado students studying engineering, forestry, or environmental science. At the town hall meeting, people cried, hugged. An elderly man shook my hand and said, "Your grandfather raised you right." I kept 5 acres for myself, the part with the old-growth pines Grandpa refused to log. Built a small cabin, moved in last fall. Now I wake up to deer in the yard and the smell of pine and coffee. My kids visit often. Even my ex-wife came by once and said she was proud of me. Patricia Hughes did a follow-up story. From property theft to community triumph. It won her an Emmy. Last week, Sarah Chen's daughter drew me a picture, a crayon house, a stick figure me holding a giant deed. It's on my fridge now, held up by a Colorado-shaped magnet. I think about Grandpa's note often. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." He was right, but what's truly mine isn't just land or money. It's knowing that 96 families sleep safely because I didn't walk away. It's a scholarship that might help a kid like me, broke, stubborn, determined to build something real. It's justice, the kind that doesn't just punish, it heals. So I'll ask you this. Have you ever faced a property dispute, an HOA nightmare, someone who thought money made them untouchable? Share your story. Let's build a library of how ordinary people beat corrupt systems. And if this reminded you that good can still win, hit subscribe. Because I've got more stories like this, about the little guy outsmarting the machine. Stories with receipts next time. The city council denied my business permit. So I found the bylaw that made me untouchable. And remember, keep your receipts, all of them.